Well, we've come to talk to you about Purdy. I grew up in Purdy. My sisters grew up well before me in Purdy. So we're going to tell you what we know about it anyway. One of the things that I remember the most back in the day, I can remember my Aunt Daisy and my grandmother lived with us the whole time I was growing up. I guess all of us, right? Grew up with Daisy and with grandmother in the same house with us. We 6 kids, mother and daddy, and then an aunt and a grandmother, all in the same. And we look at it now, all in the same little bitty house. We all live there. But I can remember my grandmother and one of Daisy's favorite songs, and we all spent a lot of time with one or both of those 2 people as we were growing up. We spent a lot of one-on-one time with them. And one of the things they loved was music. And I remember one of the songs that they loved from back in the day was Cripple Creek. Yeah, I looked that song up. There is no writer of that song as such. It just is. And in different parts of the country, it has totally different lyrics that they sing to Cripple Creek. I'm going to sing it to you the way I heard it the first time. Another one of their favorite songs. Just a second. Another one of their favorite songs was I'll Fly Away. I'd like for you to sing that with me. We can't put the words up on the wall like we do at church anymore, but I think a lot of you are going to know the words to the song, so sing along with me if you would. And as long as I can remember how it goes. You know, I grew up playing that song that I just played you at Cripple Creek. I had to learn to play it on the guitar because I didn't have a banjo at that time. I didn't get a banjo till I was in college at Southeastern. I bought one at the local music store in Durant, Oklahoma. I learned to play the banjo a little bit. But I had to learn, I could tell every time I would play one of their favorite songs like Turkey in the Straw or the one I just played, Cripple Creek, I could tell something's not quite, and I think now I know what it was. I was playing it on a guitar. Those songs were written for fiddle, they were written for banjo, they weren't written for guitars. They could tell there was something off. Sing with me, I'll Fly Away. Okay, here we go again.
somebody can have this chair if you still need a chair. Not one here. The Purdy is a unincorporated town. It was an incorporated town at one time, but it's 6 miles south east of Orange Springs.
Yeah.
They say it's in the bottom of the Washita River bottom land. It's also in the Rush Creek River bottom land. And farmers came to this area because of the good ground that they had. Purdy was first originated in the 1800s. It was incorporated around 1903 with a post office. Mr. Purdy was the first postmaster. And Tennis Porter wrote this, and he said he could remember. He would be in his 90s now, but he could remember when there was a blacksmith shop, a jailhouse, a barber shop, where Pike Sims cut his hair the first time. They had a store. Mr. Lee, which is Tulis's grandpa, had a store there. And there were some other stores. There was a gin. Tulis said his granddad, Parr, ran the gin, and his dad worked in it. They had a movie theater. But I think even by the time Tennis was gone, it probably wasn't remembered, because in 1920, a fire destroyed everything there. I guess, I don't know, but apparently before 1906, they raised a lot of cotton in Purdy. But broomcorn was introduced around 1906. And we all know that broomcorn became the thing. It was how we made money for our school funds. And for any, well, except Bonnie. But anyway, you know, we went to school there. There was a school. It stopped operating in 1957. Jerry was in the first grade. He was the only one in the first grade that year. When I started in 1947, there was about 6 of us. Me and Dwayne Barnes, Pat Henderson, Benedict Sims, Jamie Denson, and maybe one more that I don't remember her name, or their name. But, you know, it was kind of a thriving thing. And we had up to the 6th grade. And in when I was in the 4th grade, we had up to the 8th grade. We had 2 teachers. And our school had a teacherage, where the teacher lived. We had a bigger stage. But it was basically like this, you know, all the grades in one room. The year before I started school, the kids were still learning to read by moving their lips when they read. Mine was the first class to read just looking at the book. You know, we didn't. It bothered me that these people were going all the time.
Was that for a reason?
I don't know. It's just the way they taught it at that time. Purdy was part of the Indian Territory. Our grandmother's marriage license came from Muskogee, because that was the seat. And she was married in probably 1905. Her sisters came from Garvin County. But there was a Methodist preacher, a circuit riding preacher, who came through, and he would marry the couple, fill out their marriage license, and then he would take it with him. And when he went to that town, he would register their marriage license. So, you know, I'm not sure that until oil came to this area, that most of their living was made by farming, and the people around Purdy, that's how they made their living. But when oil came, then I remember Daddy went to work in the oil field when I was in the first grade. Things picked up around there then. But, you know, it was just it's what they called the good old days. But, you know, we're living in the good old days now, 20 years from now. So that's about all I have to tell you.
She probably know my territory, so I'm gonna get on hers.
Well, that's okay. I didn't.
No, I'm just kidding. We found this, and Nancy had it in her stuff, or Jerry, I can't remember. Jerry couldn't be here today because they're on vacation, but at the Purdy store, you probably can't see it from there, but I'll lay it out on the table and you can see it after a while. But this was in 1940, and Jack Shriver was the store owner. Do you remember Jack Shriver? None of us do either because it was in 1940. But you could, apparently this is a postcard, and it's probably advertising. One of my girls explained to me yesterday, it's probably advertising. Anyway, you could buy 21 pounds of sugar for $1. You could buy 24 pounds of pinto beans for $1. And 48 pounds of flour for $1.25. Same as down at Dollar Tree. Only 45 pounds. A case of 15 cup size of shredded wheat for 10 cents. A case of number 2 tomatoes for $1.55. Number 1 red spuds, a package was $0.25. 6 boxes of matches was 15 cents. A gallon of fresh prunes was 29 cents. 2 pounds of crackers was 15, and a pound of Magnolia coffee was $0.25. So, you know, prices have changed just a little bit. Inflation has affected us, but I'll lay that out.
Is that a 2-cent postcard?
What's it, Dana? It's a 1 cent postcard.
A 1 or 2? I was
Cheap back then. Whoops. I just thought this was neat. Mother had this picture of when Daddy went to Purdy school, and when you get up here after a while, he's right there, the blonde-headed one right there at the bottom, and he looks to be about, I don't know, 6 or 8 or.
He's probably in the first or second grade if he's in the first row.
Yeah. Anyway.
What year do you think that is, Bonnie?
He was born in 1917, so I'd go for 1973.
Yeah, 1923. And this is the way Mother kept it nice. She pasted this together. And,
No, he was born 1915, so it would be 21.
And then, unlike me, she wrote who they were. All these people were. So I'll lay that out there for you to look at too. And then Daisy, my Aunt Daisy that Rick talked about that lived with us, she had to go to the hospital in 1960, and it doesn't seem to me like it's been very long since 1960 because that's when I graduated. And she stayed in the hospital for, what did we say, 11 days? And had surgery.
Yeah.
And her bill was $330. Her actual surgery cost no, that was a room board. Her actual surgery was $225. Doctors wouldn't even look at you for that anymore.
Aren't there HIPAA rules about?
Oh, not here today.
It's not 1960.
I was going to tell you a little bit about we Billingsley kids, right, being raised up in Purdy. I've always thought that was probably the best place to be born because when you're a kid, you don't know any better. And I just thought that was, and still today.
We can't hear anything back here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll stand up.
Look at it.
Look at them. Again. I always have to have words to everything. We grew up on what Jerry now calls Rocky Top, out south of Purdy, south of Lindsay, about 8 miles. We grew up right next door to the Purdy Cemetery, which was, you know, I've always you know, I always had to think about death and dying, you know, because we lived right next door. And I thought that's pretty neat. And and any time that any of y'all want to add something to whatever I say, or any of y'all, because a lot of you are family, so just add anything you want to. We had lots of neighbors, not really close to us, but probably some of you remember Atlee, Beverly, and Ruby. They lived south of us, and they had children that we could play with. And then on the north side of us was our Uncle Dick and Aunt Ruby, which some of you knew. And they had a son, Dor Wayne. He was always older than us, so we didn't know him very well. But I was born July the 19th, 1942. Anita was born first. She was born in June of 1941. Nancy was born I was born in July, Nancy was born in October, so we've always said the mother should have had triplets because it would have been easier on her. But we had built-in babysitters with our grandma and our aunt living with us, which was my daddy's mom and sister. Thank you. Buddy.
Oh, that's good.
And then we had 3 brothers.
Yeah.
That I've always said that we didn't really know till we got older because we were so much older than them that I just remember Rick sitting in his room trying to learn to play the guitar, and you know he did. You know, most of you heard him and played the banjo and all that kind of stuff. And our other brother, he can't do much. That's the reason he wasn't here today. They come along 3 years. Harold came along 3 years after Nancy. 2 years after Nancy. Harold passed away a few years back. But we still have 5 of us, and we still get together and have Christmases and Thanksgivings and 4th of Julys and just all kinds of family things. Our families have really grown. All got children, they've got children, and now most of us are great-grandparents except for the boys, and they'll catch up with us someday. You know, we have all that too. You know, we didn't ever think about the conditions we lived in. Daddy worked in the broom corn, like Denise said. Mother worked right alongside of him, but we always had Grandma and Daisy there. And I remember we'd come home from school and we just couldn't wait to get home because they always had a treat for us. One of my favorite treats was the homemade sauerkraut. How many of you ever had homemade sauerkraut? That's the best stuff in the world. Before it gets ready. And I don't know if we had any left. Did we have any left?
I don't remember. I just remember that as soon as it would start to sour, our grandma would let us start sampling it.
That was so neat, just to look forward to that, and because we didn't, sweet stuff. We had it. I mean, we always had food. I don't know how, but we always had food. Mother and Daisy they gardened, and we had meat because Daddy butchered. And it's mostly hog, but chicken. Don't forget chicken. Daddy wouldn't eat any chicken after he killed some for a few days, until he got over the side of the butt, I guess. Daddy was kind of chicken himself. But I always thought I was Daddy's pet. He would put me on the back of his horse. Y'all didn't know that, did you?
No, because we thought we were.
And see, that's a good daddy.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that you were his pet. Because he would put me on the back of the horse and we would go over to, remember the Jet Skin Arena
Yeah.
over by Iron Springs? We would ride the horse.
By
Purdy.
Doyle.
Huh?
It was over by Doyle.
No, well, I meant not Jet Skin. Yeah, we went there too, but I don't remember riding the horse there. Where I remember is James Park.
James Park.
James Park.
Yeah.
James Park Arena, and we would stay there all afternoon. And I bet it was hot, but I don't remember that part. But that would be so fun. Let's see. We had to walk to school, of course, and we can really be truthful when we say we had to walk uphill home because we walked downhill from our house there by the Purdy cemetery. We walked downhill a mile and uphill a mile when we came home. Remember one time, all three of us girls were born at home with a doctor that came by, and what did you say his name was? Dr. Cantrell and his wife would come by. And I don't know if she did every time, but when I was born, they tell me that my tongue was tied, and so she clipped my tongue way back then, so that I would probably not, probably had a speech impediment or
Well, you couldn't have eaten.
couldn't have eaten.
You couldn't too much knowledge. You couldn't nurse.
Oh, well, okay. That's even more important than I thought. Do y'all know anything about your birth that was different? Different?
I think anything different.
Uh,
I just know that the doctor got to stay for lunch when I was born. That's
My goodness, that's different. I don't know of anybody that has people.
Did y'all go down the road, or was you able to cut across to the school when you walked?
We went straight from the house. We didn't go
We had a
on-
trail.
We had a trail
Okay.
that walked down the hill. Remember where Aunt Eder used to live? We went over her hill.
And that's what her name was, and Etta.
Aunt Eder Shelton, Jim Shelton's wife.
I thought it was okay. You remember her?
But when you was talking about the crowd, my brothers, I'll tell you something you can carry away from them. One time Mother and Daddy was gone, which they never left us alone, but that day they did. And my brothers took my old doll and cut its stomach. And it was sawdust, those sawdust filled it with that crowd. And we, none of us,
They weren't that bad, were they?
I just cried and cried, but none of us got in trouble over that. I don't know.
I thought it was your brothers.
But anyway, us three girls and Harold were all born at home, and then Mother, I don't know, for some reason, she had these two little strays, Jerry and Rick, at the hospital at Norman. Her mama lived up there, which would be Daryl. What did I say?
Marlo.
What did I say?
Norman.
Norman. Well,
That's where your doctor is.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, her mother lived in Marlow, which would be Daryl's great grandma.
Yep.
I don't know if any, all of you recognize the fact that we're all kin to Daryl. And anyway, they were born up over there, and I remember Daddy came after us at school on the horse, and it had rained really hard when Jerry was born.
We flooded. 1950.
And that would have been in May. And Benita wouldn't get on the horse, and I guess Nancy and I got on the horse. The girl walked, I don't know, but anyway, they always made a way for us, whatever we needed to do, we were able to do it. We didn't know we were poor back then. We always had plenty to eat, we had clothes to wear, and Daisy worked for Ann Goodner, our aunt, when we got up a little older, and Ann kept Daisy in money, and she always gave us money to spend, so we still didn't know we were poor till later on when somebody told us, you know, we might be poor. But anyway, when the Purdy school, do you know anything about your birth that was outstanding except you got?
That was at Lindsay.
Yeah, he was
wasn't
born.
Oh, you wasn't born in Marble?
That's about it. And I think they notched my ear.
Oh.
I didn't have a tongue cut.
So, what was I fixing to say?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't need to get your train on.
it don't take much. Oh, when we were at school, we always, that reminds me so much, because we'd have first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, just in lines. And I guess the teacher would just go up and down and teach a subject at a time. And I don't know how they got that all done in one day, but it seemed to work. So I felt like we really were equipped when we had to come to Lindsay School. I was in the 7th grade, and it was such a culture shock. And I was talking to Tommy a while ago. It was a culture shock to him.
Sounds good to death.
I remember one day, I saved my potatoes the whole day. This was kind of the first when we began to go over there. The potatoes were just dipped out with a little ice cream scoop, and it laid on my plate the whole time because I thought it was ice cream. And I didn't think it melted. I didn't. But I was so surprised. I saved my potatoes, and it was really.
So they actually provided y'all lunch. They
gave
at Lindsay.
Well, and even way back when Daisy, she cooked for the Purdy kids back in the 40s.
Yeah, maybe the late 30s, early 40s.
Like the Whit boys, I think.
Jim?
Isn't Jim Crawford in one of those pictures we saw?
I didn't see him.
I was thinking that we saw him. I'll have to look.
I don't know.
But she cooked out there for a few years, and probably in the late 40s.
Well, Noel was in school, whatever year this is.
And that's us.
Oh, really?
That's this one.
So he was born in 1928, so I'm thinking this was around 1936 or so.
36 or in the late 30s or early 40s.
Did Noel get killed in Purdy? I think him and Eldon were the same age.
And the one we're talking about was Ruby and Dick's only son. He was killed in that program. But, I can remember that when we'd come home from school, having an aunt and a grandmother in the house, they were able to help us. Mother had to work with Daddy, and when we get home from school, I remember my mama, we called her Mama, sitting and listening to us read and do our lessons, and so I give her a real credit for helping us in our education. But we had some good teachers out at Purdy too. One teacher I remember in particular drove over every day from Paul's Valley. Her name was Mrs. Abernathy, and she was your teacher too, wasn't she, Tommy?
Yeah, that's the only one I ever had.
We're also kin to Tommy.
Yeah.
We're kin to a whole lots of people in here.
This whole road. That whole row there anyway. Well, like 2 or 3 rows.
And as kids, I want to be sure and get this in. As kids, we made up our games. We played outside, and some of the things we played was hopscotch. Romer Dick always reminds me of playing kick the can. We played a lot of that. Romer Dick is our his mother was our daddy's first cousin, so that's how he's related to us, and he remembers playing kick the can with us, and then Red Rover, and I don't know what we call this, but we threw a ball over Annie Oval. That was so fun because our house was so small and short, I guess. even us girls could throw it over the top of the house.
And if we hit the top of the house with the ball,
We were in trouble.
we were in trouble.
I remember one time we made our own kitchen outside as kids, you know, our play kitchen. You have to buy them nowadays, but we made ours. You know, things got discarded, and we even had an overstove that we put in this little. There was some trees around it. I can just picture it right now. We had that stove in there, and then anything else that we could find around in the yard that you could use in the kitchen. And so we learned to play. And sometimes it doesn't seem like kids are being taught nowadays to play other than on their phone or so it's electronic now. I don't know whether I'm just jealous that we didn't have electronics or
We didn't have electricity.
And
I started school in 1947. It was when I got electricity.
And probably like a lot of y'all, we watched TV over at, what would it have been? Well, Aunt Malu's for sure.
Ralph Capps.
Yeah, TV store. We'd just go park in front of it, We couldn't hear it, but we watched the pictures.
Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke. I remember that.
So they left the TV on all the time?
They wanted to sell.
And I don't know, I guess you had to get there first, be right there in front, I don't know. We always had a good seat, I remember that. And then we would walk over to Daddy's Aunt Molly Lou Shelton and watch TV. And then we'd go over to Preacher Morgan, I don't know how many remember Preacher Morgan, but
Oh, yeah, remember preacher, yeah.
we would walk over to their house on New Year's Day and watch the parades and the football games and that kind of stuff. So, and I don't remember what year we got a TV, but I was pretty old. And then, of course, us girls Benita married first in 1959. I married in 60 and Nancy married in 61. So we left and left it to the boys. Pretty much else.
They probably
We put in indoor plumbing.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't have indoor plumbing.
We didn't have a phone.
Why did y'all wait?
We
till
put in a
were-
phone.
And I was wondering, when did Daddy get a car?
I'm thinking about 1945 because Mother was either expecting Harold or he was a little bitty baby. You don't remember going down across the
Yeah, I
pasture
remember
running
that,
with
but
Daddy?
Yeah, he was learning to drive. So it took us all.
Mother stayed in the yard.
But he learned. He would take us to town on Friday night. But if we heard a knock on the door, it was always Preacher Morgan, and he wanted to go coon hunting. So we got knocked out of going to town and getting to go to the show or whatever we did with the theater. Nancy would kind of become our mother after our mother passed away, and started having all the family get-togethers. I'd help her every once in a while, but mainly she did it, her and her girls. And then we have 4th of July out at Riggs, and up until a couple of years ago, we had Family Fun Day out at Rocky Top out at Purdy. Jerry got that planned for us.
What about the tractor ride?
No. Jerry, it would get back to Jerry. He liked to kill us all. I'll just say that. Daryl is up from the camera, so it's not running. Well, that's good enough for me, I believe. Okay. Well, how different it is today. Just thinking back, over the years. It's all different, isn't it? And getting more different as we go along. But each of you has played such a big part in making this Lindsay area, whether it's Purdy or Springs, Oak Grove, or whatever all the different towns are, or these other places around here, have all made it what it is today. And I think we all appreciate the place we have to live, called Lindsay, this area. We have good schools, we just have a good young spirit. And like I said a while ago, it seems like we're all kin. Not in a bad way, but have roots in this area. That's all I have.
We have lots of pictures up here.
Nancy was.
I remember going, you talk about in, when I was there, just before the school closed, I was finished the third grade there, and then it closed. But Mrs. Abernathy was our teacher, the only one I ever knew. And I remember sitting at B.T. Ferguson, and I think he was in the 5th grade, and I thought, boy, he was just really up there, upper class, but we the simple things meant so much. For our birthdays, I think she would buy us a record. And I remember on one of my birthdays, probably maybe last one, I still remember the record. It was, I've been working on the railroad. And so she would play that, but we, you talked about we were poor and didn't know it. Say, Sandra and her family. Some way, I got to school with, I'm trying to save just 2 pennies. Might have been a penny and a nickel. But I couldn't wait to get to Mrs. Ross's until school was out. So I told Miss Abernathy I had an earache. I had to go home. And
You
so
told a story.
I took off and I trimmed, I was in too big a hurry to go around the road, so I took off across that plowed field, and I probably found every other road, But I got there and she had a glass counter, and one of those, she'd get down and she'd put it on the counter. One of those, and she'd get it, put it on the counter, and I reached in my pocket. Of course, an open pocket. I lost, like I say, the first time I fell. One time, Miss Ross, I lost my pennies. And she just started, didn't say a word. And then I had to go on home, But that was...
Oh, your story.
Yeah. Couldn't let mother know, But it's just a special time.
And that store was open until,
Grandpa used to take us down there. All the
I
time.
think Nita Joe was about 3 or 4 when it closed, so that would have been like in 1972, 1 or 2,
Was it?
So, when I was pregnant with her, her brother had the measles, and I couldn't take him anywhere because he was sick. But he could look at me through this window while I walked up to Miss Ross's store and got him a pop or whatever he wanted, And but that store was there for all of our lives. The first year I went to school at Lindsay, I caught the bus there.
Yeah, me too.
Did you? Good. Well, I don't remember the second
We
year.
still had to walk to school down to the store.
Well, by the time I got to go, it stopped at my house and on the highway. But we had to come down the hill we lived on top of that, Rocky Top. And we had to come down that hill, which I've made on my knees several times.
Had to draw water.
Is that south of the store now? Rocky Top?
Rocky Top is west of the store. It's just south of the cemetery.
Okay, all right. And the highway ran through Purdy?
The old highway ran through Purdy.
I thought it was looking, not up there on the hill where it's at.
And when I was a kid, I never remember having anything but a low water bridge across Rush Creek as you went south of Purdy.
There's pieces of it still down there.
Is there?
I think so, right there. Pieces of the bridge still down there.
But you can see where it was.
I really thought it left in 1950 because they never rebuilt it.
Just shoved inside.
And because the highway was going in, so they just waited until they.
Well, before that though, didn't the road go right by us and then back down by?
Up by the cemetery.
It turned off at what was called the Parker Yard, where Randy Hay lives now, and went down there.
Okay.
You could also get to it going down Water Tower Road.
Well, yeah, you can do
That way,
that.
couldn't you?
Yes. And if you're south of Rush Creek, there's a road there. It's called goes through Rattlesnake
Yeah.
something. It's called Rattlesnake Road, isn't it?
Joe knows all about that road.
Joe lives even farther east of Purdy and south.
So what was the road that was up there by the cemetery?
It was just a county road.
Just a county road?
It would have a number now if it was still, and it may have, I don't know.
Was it ever paved?
No.
Always a dirt road?
Well, was it there when you still had the road down going through the middle of Purdy? I was thinking that it was built when the old new highway to 76 was built.
That road one goes to Purdy Cemetery and one goes to Purdy.
Yeah,
That road was always there.
it was, okay.
We just didn't have the highway to go across it.
You talk about that when it used to go north, past the Mrs. Ross and then past the school and on up, and come out to Parker.
It was such a rough road going up that hill. Daddy thought the air above it must be rough. He thought the airplanes must. I was looking this up online, and in 2014, the Daily Oklahoman said there was 100 people living around Purdy. I don't know how far out around Purdy they go. Because in downtown Purdy, there is one person, one family about who lives there. The store is closed. It's just nothing like it was. When I raised my family on Main Street in Purdy, it was up north of the store. And there was a lot of people there. There was 5 or 6 kids caught the bus with my kids, So it just seems strange to see it that dead.
Was that where most of the town was before it burned? Was it north of Mrs. Ross's store?
Dennis said that blacksmith or that gin was southeast or west.
Catty corner of the store. It's that catty corner of the store. Where Jeff and Lisa Davis.
Where Jeff and Lisa Taylor, that rock trailer house
That's
is.
what I thought. It would be at about there.
What Charlotte told me, Dennis told her.
Well, that's the way it sounded in his thing. But, he remembers several years before I remember.
I've always just wished I lived when all those things were down there. But all we remember is the store.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
When that Highway 76, that house at 7, high
That was
over the
Ruby's.
hill and had the road going up, was that your old house?
No, it's
Or
Ruby's.
Dick's?
Ruby and Dick's.
Okay.
We didn't live down on that. We didn't live down there where
Down in
by
Purdy.
or down on the highway even. And before the highway was there, it was already there when we moved. Mother and Daddy moved the house down closer to the highway.
think I remember it, but I remember that one that I said, that house is gonna fall off.
When they were building that road, they asked Ruby if her husband drank.
Serious.
They were kind of worried about it, because there couldn't have been.
I know it.
Questions? Most of you in here, I was just thinking before I came, I thought if you've ever been in my Sunday school class, or if you've ever been around me, you've heard most of them. Mine growing up, but heard it again.
Did you find any of that information on that Joanne had put together on the old Purdy Cemetery? Did you know any about that?
I found what is online.
Yeah. Well, I know it's changed, to what it was.
Well, basically, the cemetery's still there. I don't know if there's still a fence around it. I assume that if there is, the farmer would have fenced around it. Is it fenced?
The old cemetery? Yeah, there's a fence around it.
But it's grown up.
It's a mess, yeah.
The headstones are falling apart because trees are in them.
I've never seen it. So,
Like I said, it's a hike to get in there, and there's a lot of briars that have grown up through.
Is that the one that's on the Wits
Yes.
land?
Yeah, it's right off Rush Creek, but kind of spooky. It's all grown up like it is, but it's neat.
as far as I know, none of our family was ever buried up
I
there.
was gonna say, who is buried
There's a
there?
lot of shoemates, there's some Estes.
Is it spelled
It's
shoemake
shoemaker.
like?
It used to be, it actually used to be an Indian. It's a lot of babies. Yes.
I'll bet.
A lot of babies.
There's
raised there.
in the new cemetery at Purdy, there's a lot of babies and mothers.
Died of fevers and stuff, they're stillborn. Who's lady that has all the stillborns? It was a shoemaker, wasn't it?
These people now, they don't understand about babies being stillborn, or because it just happened a lot. I did see on mine that Purdy is 1,030 feet above sea level.
Not very far.
So who was the last people to own the store?
Miss Ross. I cannot think of her name.
Who?
Miss Ross. I guess it was Miss.
We don't know, we didn't know if Mr. Ross did that.
John Ross. Yes, he was alive when she.
I didn't remember that.
They had a stove, and I've seen people sitting around that stove just, in the winter, just visiting.
She had that little passion, she
It
had.
was a dog, I don't remember. But toward the end, I got afraid to go up to the store because I didn't want to be the one who found her dead.
Oh,
So how did your family get the property, the Rocky Top property? How did that come into your family? Or was it just always there? You don't know?
There's a deed where Grandpa Brown bought it from the Indians. A woman named Potter. It just has always been there.
So that would have been your dad's?
No, it's
grandmother's.
well, it would have been our dad's grandparents, maternal grandparents.
Would these have been them?
Yes.
This have been them.
Do you know who owns the Goldstein property?
I don't.
Well, Archie and Joanne
I know where
owned it
you're-
last, and I
And
just,
the last I knew that, and did you know that Joanne passed
yeah,
away?
this past week. Yeah.
You know, we did have excitement there in, I don't know what year it was, but we had a murder in Purdy.
And what?
A
Murder,
murder.
yeah.
Or a killing.
What was the name?
Goldson, John Goldson.
Oh, yeah, but there was one earlier than that,
Well, probably, but I don't remember it.
and I think it involved that dance,
Oh, really?
but then some of them say, well, they gave the address as Foster. I said, well, that was the mailing address, so there's, you read this stuff, So at one time that area was considered foster, like in the foster area? Yeah, and your mailing address is foster. Oh, at the Purdy's.
No, I didn't know. Lindsay.
It is?
Our address was always
Well,
Route
just a
3.
little south of there it is.
Yeah, but it's
County.
across the county line.
Oh, Stevens.
Yeah, there.
So
It's like a foreign country. That's county line.
So tell us about the rest of the murder.
Well, there was an argument over cattle getting out. And Mr. Hollis and Mr. Goldston got into an argument, and one of them, and Mr. Hollis shot Mr. Goldston.
It's about the time that we would walk to Purdy.
Yeah.
For some reason, we was just not in step that day, so.
And it was like from here to there, distance from their houses.
You know, that was so sad. Mr. Hollis, of course, his daughter was married to Jim and I, and they lived in Seajack, right south of my parents, when all this happened.
It was sad.
They had a young family, and when they had the trial, my husband, he was nosy. he went to the trial, you know, and Mr. Hollis got off, you know, was acquitted. And do you know, they left that night and went to California, and they never did come back. Now,
Well, I understand that two of the boys were working down at Sulphur just a few years ago. They took the twins, Carson and
yeah,
Everett.
Carson.
But that happened right there at that bridge that goes down to Purdy.
Yeah.
Just right south of the school.
Blood stayed on the rocks forever.
Do you know if Mary Williamson still owns that property? You know, the Hensons farmed it, but I just wondered.
No,
She don't.
somebody named Freeman from over toward Elmore City bought it.
Okay.
We have lots of pictures up here if anybody wants to look at them. This, I might tell you that this is our grandma's. Her name was Ida Billingsley. This was her dad and her mom and all of her siblings. We've always have said that our great granddad Rick looks just like him. But,
Like Curtis, it's just like.
well, Curtis too. That's,
Curtis had a mustache.
It's just like that. I mean, I think he looks just like that.
And if you have questions about the pictures, we'll tell you.
Maybe you'd like to get up and just maybe wanted to tell you thank you so much for
Yeah,
all
thank
the
you for
help
listening
that
to
you've
us.
given us and coming and hearing these great stories. And I know they've been back a lot of memories for you. We want to tell you that next month is Jim England's story, his family. And so many of you know them. And then the Thomas story, Jared Thomas family will tell their story in September. So we still have more stories coming and we want you to be a part of it. So hope you'll come back and visit again, and thank you for your donations to help us. Looks like we're going to need it for the air conditioner. So we won't have to have heat next time. So, all right, thank you so much.
Also, if anybody has
Thank you for watching. Please join our YouTube channel to see our past and future programs. Also, please follow our Facebook pages, the Murray Lindsay Mansion, Pikes Peak School Museum, and the Lindsay Community Historical Society.